The first time I saw Connor walk into my gym after I got hired there, I almost dropped the clipboard in my hand. Not because I hadn't seen him in months, but because the last time we'd stood face to face, he'd told me, "You're great, Grayson, just not my type." And yeah, I pretended that didn't sting. Back then, I wasn't a trainer. I was just the awkward guy who had finally worked up the courage to ask out the straight-acting, rugby-built regular at the campus gym. Connor had that effortless confidence, fitted t-shirts, a self-assured half-smile, the kind of guy who re-racked weights like he was starring in a fitness commercial. We talked for weeks, joked between sets, shared protein bar recommendations like that meant something. I misread it, or maybe I didn't. Either way, when I asked him if he wanted to grab coffee, just us, he'd given me that careful look. The one people use when they don't want to hurt you but are already doing it. "I'm flattered," he'd said, "but I don't really see you like that." That was a year ago. A year of throwing myself into certification courses. A year of early mornings and protein shakes and forcing myself not to check his Instagram. A year of telling myself that rejection wasn't humiliation, it was redirection. And now I was the one in the fitted black trainer shirt with my name stitched over the chest. Grayson. And Connor was standing at the front desk, asking about personal training packages. I swear the universe has a twisted sense of humor. I stayed behind the counter at first, pretending to scroll through client schedules while eavesdropping like a loser. "Yeah," Connor was saying, rubbing the back of his neck. "I've hit a plateau. Thought maybe a trainer would help." Plateau. That was new. Connor used to lift like he was trying to intimidate gravity. The front desk girl, Maya, flipped through the binder. "We've got a few trainers available. Grayson actually has an opening for evening sessions." He went still. I felt it before I saw it. That subtle pause. "Grayson?" he repeated. Maya smiled. Tall, dark hair. Used to work out here all the time before he joined staff. He turned, and our eyes locked. There's something unfair about how memory hits you. I remembered exactly how he looked at me the night he turned me down. Gentle but distant, like I was already filed under friend. Now his expression was different, surprised, and something else. "Hey," he said slowly, stepping toward the desk. "Didn't know you worked here." I forced a calm smile. Professional, neutral, definitely not thinking about how close he was standing. "Yeah, got certified last fall." "Congrats," he said, and his eyes dropped briefly to the logo on my shirt, then back up. "That's awesome." I shrugged like it was nothing. "You looking for a trainer?" There was the smallest flicker of hesitation. "Yeah, guess so." The roles had flipped so fast it almost made me dizzy. A year ago, I'd been the one hoping he'd give me a shot. Now he was asking me to push him through reps. Maya glanced between us. "Should I sign you up with Grayson?" Connor didn't answer right away. He just kept looking at me. And here's the thing, I told myself I'd be over him by now. I wasn't. Not even close. But I had pride now. I had boundaries. I wasn't the guy nervously asking him out between sets anymore. I extended my hand across the counter. "If you're cool with it," I said evenly. "I've got Tuesday and Thursday evenings open." He looked at my hand like it was something fragile. Then he took it. His grip was warm, strong, familiar. "Tuesday works," he said, and I swear there was a weight in his voice that hadn't been there before. Our first session was awkward, not in a bad way, just charged. Connor showed up right on time, wearing a sleeveless gray tank that did absolutely nothing to hide the fact that he'd spent the last year getting even broader. I hated that I noticed. "All right," I said, tablet in hand. "Let's assess your baseline." He smirked slightly. "You always this serious?" "I am when someone's paying me." That got a real smile out of him. We started with form checks, squats, deadlifts, controlled bench reps. I kept things professional, hands guiding his elbow position, fingers briefly adjusting his shoulder alignment. He followed instructions without arguing. No ego. No teasing like he used to do. Halfway through, I realized something. Connor wasn't lifting like he used to. He hesitated before heavy sets. His breathing was tighter. There was tension there, not physical, emotional. You okay? I asked quietly after he racked a barbell. He wiped sweat from his forehead, avoided my eyes. Yeah, just out of rhythm lately. That wasn't about lifting. I leaned against the rack. Plateaus usually aren't physical. He looked at me then. For a second, it felt like the air changed. You always analyze people this much? He asked. Occupational hazard. He let out a slow breath. Guess I've had a lot on my mind. I didn't push. Trainer rule number 1. Let the client open up. But something told me this wasn't just about fitness. By the end of the session, his muscles were shaking and his chest was rising hard. Same time Thursday? I asked. He nodded, then lingered. You look different, he said suddenly. I blinked. Different how? Confident. The word landed somewhere deep. I gave a small smile. Comes with the job. He stepped closer, not invading, just closer. I'm glad you're doing well, Grayson. It wasn't flirty. It was sincere. And somehow that was worse. Because the old feelings? They weren't gone. They'd just been buried under progress and pride. And now, every Tuesday and Thursday, I was going to be inches from the guy who once told me I wasn't his type. Except something about the way he looked at me now made me wonder if that had ever really been true. By the third session, I stopped pretending I didn't look forward to Tuesdays. That was my first mistake. Connor showed up early that night. I was finishing up with another client when I saw him through the mirror, stretching near the cable machines, jaw tight, earbuds in but not playing anything. He looked restless. When my client left, Connor pulled one earbud out. Hey, I replied, trying to sound casual instead of aware. We moved into warm-ups, and I noticed it again, the hesitation. Not weakness, just distraction. Focus on the movement, I told him gently, stepping behind him as he set up for a deadlift. You're overthinking it. He let out a quiet huff. Story of my life. Connor, I said, lowering my voice. Talk to me. He racked the weight harder than necessary and stood there for a second, staring at the floor. You ever realize you messed something up? He started slowly. And it's too late to fix it? My chest tightened. I think everyone has, I answered carefully. He looked at me then. Really looked at me. I've been thinking about last year, he said. There it was. The thing we'd been orbiting. I kept my tone steady. Yeah. I wasn't in a good place, he continued. I was trying so hard to be what people expected. That word hung heavy. Expected. I told you you weren't my type, he said quietly. But that wasn't the full truth. My pulse started hammering so loud I was sure he could hear it. Then what was? I asked. He swallowed. I was scared. The gym noise faded into the background. Machines clanking. Music playing. None of it mattered. I grew up in a house where you didn't get to question things, he went on. You just followed the script. And you thought I'd messed that up? I said, not accusatory, just stating it. He nodded once. I liked you, he admitted, more than I was comfortable with. God, that year of pretending I imagined it? Gone in one sentence. Connor, I said carefully. You turned me down. I know. And it hurt. I know. There was no defensiveness in him. Just regret. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. When I saw you behind that counter the other day, confident, doing your thing, it hit me. Hit you how? Like I might have been an idiot. My stomach flipped. But I wasn't the same guy who used to shrink around him. You don't get to rewrite history just because it's convenient, I said. His jaw tightened slightly. It's not convenience. Then what is it? He hesitated. Growth. I hated how much I wanted to believe him. We stood there too long for just trainer and client. Finally, I stepped back and clapped my hands lightly. Professional reset. All right, I said. We've got one more set. He stared at me like he wanted to say more, but he grabbed the bar, and he lifted harder than he had all session. Afterward, when the gym started emptying out, I was wiping down equipment when he approached again. Coffee? He asked. There it was. The same question I'd once asked him. except now his voice held the vulnerability mine had carried back then. I looked at him, really looked. He wasn't arrogant tonight. He wasn't the untouchable guy always surrounded by girls. He was nervous. "I'm your trainer," I said slowly. "There's lines. Then dinner," he countered softly. "On a night I'm not your client." That made me exhale a shaky laugh. "You're persistent. Only when it matters." Silence stretched between us. The old feelings weren't gone. They'd been waiting, but I wasn't desperate anymore. I wasn't hoping he'd choose me. I needed to know he was sure. "Why now?" I asked. "What changed?" He stepped closer, but still careful. "I'm tired of pretending," he said. "Tired of dating people who look right on paper but don't feel right." "And I feel right?" I asked before I could stop myself. His eyes softened. "You always did." That almost undid me. Almost. I shook my head slightly. "Connor, you hurt me." His voice dropped. "I know. And if you don't want to give me another shot, I'll respect that." There it was. No pressure. No ego. Just honesty. And that was new. I studied his face. The same strong jaw, the same intense eyes. But the expression was different now. Open. Vulnerable. "I don't want to be someone you experiment with," I said quietly. "You're not," he replied instantly. "I'm done experimenting. I know what I want." My heartbeat was in my throat. "And what's that?" He didn't hesitate this time. "You." God, I swallowed. Every part of me wanted to say yes immediately, but the part of me that spent a year rebuilding my confidence needed more than words. "You're going to keep training with me," I said finally. He blinked. "That's your condition?" "It's my boundary. We take it slow. No secrets. No confusion. You show up consistently, at the gym and outside it." His lips curved slightly. "You're giving me a probation period? Call it rebuilding trust." He extended his hand again, that familiar warm grip waiting. "Deal." I didn't shake it. Instead, I looked at him and said, "We'll see." And the way his eyes darkened at that told me he wasn't planning on walking away this time. But what I didn't expect was how hard it would be to stay professional when Connor started looking at me like he wasn't just trying to get stronger. He was trying to earn me, and honestly, that might have been even more dangerous. I underestimated how hard it would be to take it slow. Connor didn't flirt. He didn't push. He just showed up. Every session. On time. By week 3, his strength was climbing again. His confidence too. He moved with purpose now, like he wasn't just training his body, he was proving something. To me. To himself. "Drive through your heels," I reminded him during squats, standing close enough to spot him. He nodded, jaw set. On the last rep, he powered up hard, breath rough, chest rising fast. When he racked the bar, our eyes met in the mirror. "You're stronger than you think," I told him. He held my gaze. "I could say the same to you." That look lingered too long. I stepped back first. Professional. Always professional. But my pulse didn't get the memo. Outside the gym, he kept it respectful. Texts were simple. "Hey, how's your day? Saw this and thought of you." No pressure. Just checking in. No late night, "You up?" messages. No vague flirting. Just steady. And that scared me more than rejection ever did. Because this version of Connor, this one felt real. One Thursday evening, after closing, I found him sitting on one of the benches tying his shoes. Everyone else had left. "You're staying late," I said. "Wanted to stretch," he replied, then added, "Also wanted to ask you something." I leaned against the wall, crossing my arms. "Shoot." He stood slowly, stepping closer but not crowding me. "My sister's engagement dinner is Saturday." "Okay. And I don't want to bring a girl I barely like just to keep up appearances." There it was. My stomach flipped. "Connor, I'm not asking you to be some secret," he said quickly. "I'm asking you to come with me. As you." The gym suddenly felt too quiet. "That's not small," I said. "I know." He didn't look away. "I've never brought a guy to anything like that," he admitted. "But I don't want to hide anymore." I searched his face for hesitation. There wasn't any. Just nerves. You sure? I asked softly. He nodded once. Terrified. But sure. God, that did something to me. A year ago, he couldn't even say yes to coffee. Now he was asking me to stand beside him in front of his family. I don't want to be your test run, I reminded him. You're not, he said immediately. You're the reason I'm done pretending. Silence stretched between us. This wasn't casual anymore. This was real life. Okay, I said finally. His eyes widened slightly. Okay, I'll go. The relief that washed over his face was so raw it almost knocked the air out of me. He exhaled hard. Thank you. For the record, I added, stepping closer. If anyone disrespects you, I will absolutely make it awkward. That made him laugh, real and warm. I was hoping you'd say that. Grayson, he said quietly. My heart slammed. Yeah, I really wanted to kiss you just now. The honesty in that nearly undid me, but I held my ground. You don't get to rush the reward, I said softly. His jaw tightened slightly, not frustrated. Focused. Then I'll earn it. God. I turned to grab my bag before I did something stupid. As I walked toward the door, he called after me. Saturday. 7. I didn't turn around, but I smiled. Saturday came faster than I expected. And when Connor showed up at my apartment in a fitted navy button-down and dark jeans, the old feelings weren't just buried. They were alive and loud and dangerous. He looked me up and down slowly when I opened the door. You clean up well, he said. So do you, I replied. For a second, we just stood there, nervous. Then he offered his hand. Not casual. Intentional. I took it. And for the first time, I didn't feel like the guy chasing him. I felt chosen. But as we walked toward his car, I couldn't shake one thought. If tonight went wrong, it wouldn't just hurt. It would wreck me. And something told me Connor knew that too. The car ride to the restaurant was quiet. Not awkward quiet. Heavy quiet. Connor kept one hand on the steering wheel, the other resting on the center console between us. You nervous? I asked. He let out a small laugh. Yeah. About what exactly? He glanced at me briefly. About this being the moment everything changes. Honest. Always honest lately. That's kind of the point, isn't it? I said. He nodded, jaw tight. My dad's traditional, he admitted. My mom will follow his lead. And your sister? She knows, he said. She's cool. She actually told me I was an idiot last year. That made my stomach flip. She knew about me? He nodded once. I talk about you more than I meant to. God. The restaurant parking lot came into view. Connor killed the engine but didn't move right away. He turned toward me fully. If this gets uncomfortable, he said quietly, we leave. I don't care if it's 5 minutes in. I studied him. No bravado. No, it'll be fine. Just protective. I'm not fragile, I told him. I know, he replied. That's why this matters. That did something to me I wasn't prepared for. He stepped out first, walked around the car, and opened my door. Not showy. Intentional. I took his hand when he offered it this time, and he squeezed once before letting go as we walked inside. The dinner started normal. Connor's sister, Emily, hugged him tight. Then she turned to me with a knowing smile. So you're Grayson. Guilty, I said. She leaned closer and whispered, about time. Connor shot her a look. I tried not to smile too wide. His mom was polite, warm but cautious. His dad, measured. The kind of man who scans a room before deciding how to react. We sat, ordered, made small talk. Connor kept subtly angling his body toward me. Not dramatic, just present. At one point, under the table, his hand brushed mine. He didn't grab it. He just let his fingers rest there lightly. Testing. I didn't pull away. Across the table, his dad noticed. There was a pause in conversation. Connor straightened slightly, and then, without looking at me for permission, he laced his fingers fully with mine. Out in the open. Not hidden under the table anymore. The air shifted. His mom blinked. His dad's jaw tightened. But Connor didn't let go. I should have said something a while ago, he said calmly. Grayson's important to me. No apology. No hesitation. Just truth. My heart was beating so hard I felt it in my throat. His dad cleared his throat. Important how? The question hung there. This was it. Connor squeezed my hand. Like someone I care about, he answered. Someone I'm seeing. The silence that followed was brutal. Emily looked ready to throw a bread roll at their father if he said the wrong thing. His mom shifted uncomfortably. And his dad studied us. Specifically Connor. You've dated girls your whole life, he said slowly. Connor didn't flinch. I dated who I thought I was supposed to. That landed. Heavy. And now? His dad asked. Now I'm done pretending. The table went quiet again. I didn't speak. This wasn't my fight. Finally, his dad exhaled slowly. You look sure, he said. Connor's thumb brushed over my knuckles. I am. Another long pause. Then his dad nodded once. Well, he said gruffly, reaching for his drink. I suppose honesty's better than confusion. It wasn't glowing approval. But it wasn't rejection either. And in that moment, it was enough. Connor's shoulders visibly relaxed. Under the table, his grip tightened just slightly. Later, outside the restaurant, the cool night air hit us. Connor let out a breath like he'd been holding it for an hour. You okay? He asked me immediately. I laughed softly. You're asking me? He stepped closer, searching my face. That could have gone bad. But it didn't, I said. He nodded slowly. You didn't walk away, he murmured. I told you, I replied quietly. When we finally pulled apart, his forehead rested against mine. I should have done that a long time ago, he admitted. Yeah, I breathed. You should have. He smiled slightly. No more wasting time. I searched his face. You sure? His answer came without hesitation. I'm not scared of this anymore. And for the first time since he walked back into my life, neither was I. But here's the thing about finally getting what you wanted. It's not the end of the story. It's the part where you find out if it's strong enough to last. And I was about to learn that loving Connor when it was easy was nothing compared to loving him when things got complicated. I didn't expect the hardest part to come after the kiss. I thought once Connor stopped hiding, once he chose me publicly, everything would just fall into place. Didn't. Because being brave once at a dinner table, that's one thing. Being brave every day after that, that's different. The first week after the engagement dinner, things felt almost too good. He came over Sunday night with takeout and stayed until almost midnight. You're quiet, he said, watching me. Just thinking. Dangerous. I nudged him. Shut up. He smiled, then got serious. You regret going? He asked quietly. I looked at him. No. You sure? Connor, I said, setting my phone down. I wouldn't have said yes if I wasn't sure. His jaw flexed slightly. I keep waiting for you to realize this is too much. That caught me off guard. Too much. Yeah, the family stuff. The figuring things out. The fact that I'm new at this. I studied him. You think I need you to be perfect at it? He didn't answer. I shifted so I was fully facing him. I need you to be honest, I said. That's it. He exhaled slowly. I am. I know. That was the difference now. I knew. But then came Thursday. And with it, the gym. Connor had a late session. The place was busier than usual. A few of the regular guys he used to lift with were there. Loud, competitive, always flexing a little too hard in front of mirrors. One of them, Tyler, noticed us. Connor was mid-set on bench press while I spotted him. Yo! Tyler called out casually. Didn't know you switched teams, bro. The words weren't shouted. They were worse. Smirking. Public. Connor froze for half a second under the bar. I immediately helped rack it. You good? I asked quietly. He nodded once. Tyler walked closer, still grinning. So the trainer's your new thing? The air shifted. I felt heat rise in my chest. But I stayed still. This wasn't my moment to jump in. Connor stood slowly, grabbed his towel. Yeah, he said evenly. Tyler's smirk twitched slightly. Didn't see that coming. Yeah, Connor replied calmly. Most people don't. There was no anger in his voice, just certainty. Tyler shrugged. Whatever, man, and walked away. But the damage? It lingered. Connor's shoulders were tight, his breathing off again. I stepped closer, lowered my voice. Look at me. He did. You don't owe anyone comfort, I said. His jaw clenched. I know. Do you? Silence. Then, quietly, it's just weird. Yeah, I admitted. It is. He rubbed a hand over his face. I hate that part of me still wants their approval. That honesty, that's what mattered. He looked at me. But it still gets to you, I added. He nodded once. I don't need you to be unaffected, I told him. I need you to stay. His eyes softened. I'm not going anywhere. Good. Then, after a beat, I added quietly, but if you ever feel like this is too much pressure. He stepped closer immediately. Don't, he said. Don't what? Don't give me an out. His voice was steady. I don't want one. That did something to my chest. Later that night, after closing, we were alone again. The gym lights dimmed, the air quieter. Connor leaned back against the wall near the lockers, staring at the floor. Say something, he muttered. About how I handled that. I walked toward him slowly. You handled it, I said. Bare minimum. No, I corrected. You didn't flinch. He looked up at me. I almost did. But you didn't. Silence. Then his voice dropped. I'm scared I'm going to mess this up. That confession felt heavier than anything Tyler said. I stepped closer until there was barely space between us. You already did once, I said softly. He winced. And you came back and did it right, I finished. His breath hitched slightly. You're not the same guy who turned me down, I told him. He searched my face. You don't see me like that anymore? I shook my head. I see you trying. I don't want to be someone you're proud of only when it's easy, he said quietly. You're not, I replied. The vulnerability in his eyes right then, that's when I realized something. The roles had reversed in more ways than I thought. A year ago, I was the one asking to be chosen. Now, he was the one afraid of losing me. And I didn't want him afraid. I wanted him steady. Connor, I said softly. Yeah, I'm not waiting for you to fail. Then what are you doing? I held his gaze. I'm building something with you. And for the first time since he walked back into my life, I stopped wondering if he'd leave. Because the guy who once couldn't choose me was now fighting to keep me. But loving someone who's still learning to stand in their truth means there are still cracks. And the next one wasn't going to come from a stranger at the gym. It was going to come from inside him. And I wasn't sure either of us were ready for that. The crack showed up on a Tuesday. It always seemed to be Tuesdays with us. Connor came in late. Not like him. No text beforehand. No running 5 minutes behind. Just late. When he finally walked through the doors, he didn't look at me right away. Everything okay? I asked, keeping my voice neutral. Yeah, he said too quickly. Traffic. We both knew that was a lie. He moved through warm-ups stiffly. Not physically, mentally. Distracted. Snapping at himself when he missed form. Reset. I told him after he dropped the weight harder than necessary. He ran a hand through his hair. I'm fine, Grayson. You're not. His jaw tightened. I said I'm fine. The tone wasn't aggressive. It was defensive. And that felt worse. I stepped back slightly, giving him space instead of pushing. Okay, I said evenly. Then lift. He did. Harder than needed. Like he was trying to outrun something. Halfway through the session, I noticed his phone lighting up repeatedly on the bench behind him. Same name. Over and over. I didn't mean to look, but I saw it. Rachel. My stomach dipped. I didn't react outwardly. Trainer mode. Professional. He finally grabbed the phone, glanced at it, and turned it face down. But the damage was done. Water break, I said calmly. He nodded, breathing heavy. We stood there in silence for a second. Then I asked, "Who's Rachel?" There it was. The shift. He didn't look at me. Someone from before. Before what? Before this, he said quietly. The air felt thinner. "Why is she calling you 10 times during a workout?" I asked, keeping my voice steady even though my chest wasn't. He scrubbed a hand over his face. "She found out." "Found out what?" "About us." I held his gaze. "And she wants to talk." I swallowed. "Do you?" That's the question that mattered. He hesitated. "Not long, but long enough." "I owe her a conversation," he said. "That shouldn't have hurt, but it did." "Connor?" I said carefully. "Are you still with her?" His head snapped up. "No. God, no. We ended things months ago." "Then why does this feel unfinished?" Silence. His breathing slowed. "Because I never told her the real reason," he admitted. There it was. The part he hadn't cleaned up. "You let her think it was just distance," I said. He nodded once. "I didn't have the guts to say it. And now she's angry," he said, "and confused." I folded my arms. "Not out of anger, out of self-protection." "And what are you?" He looked at me then. "Sure." I searched his face for cracks. "Then why does it feel like you're still carrying her reaction?" He didn't answer. And that was the problem. After the session, he didn't linger like usual. He grabbed his bag. "I'm meeting her tomorrow," he said quietly. My chest tightened. "Okay." He stepped closer. "It's not like that." "I know," I said. And I did. But knowing didn't stop the old fear from creeping in. A year ago, he'd chosen safety over me. Now he was choosing honesty. But honesty sometimes shakes things up before they settle. "You trust me?" he asked softly. The question caught me off guard. "Yes," I answered honestly. He exhaled like he needed that. "I'll call you after," he said. "Okay." He leaned in like he might kiss me, then stopped himself. Gym floor, cameras, boundaries. He squeezed my hand instead, and left. That night I didn't sleep much. Not because I thought he'd run back to her, but because I knew what confronting your past feels like. It rattles you, and Connor was still learning how to stand steady. The next evening, my phone buzzed at 9:47 p.m. Connor calling. I answered immediately. "You okay?" I asked. He was quiet for a second. "Yeah." The kind of yeah that meant it wasn't simple. "Talk to me," I said. He exhaled. "She cried." My chest tightened. "I told her the truth," he continued. "That I wasn't confused. That I just wasn't being honest with myself before. And she asked if I ever loved her." Silence. "What did you say?" I asked softly. "That I cared about her. But it wasn't the same." My pulse pounded. And then she asked why I couldn't figure that out before hurting her. There it was. Guilt. Heavy and sharp. "I told her because I was scared," he said. "And that wasn't fair to her." I leaned back against my couch. "That's honest." She said I wasted her time. That one landed hard in his voice. "You didn't waste it," I said. "You just weren't ready." I hate that I hurt someone while figuring myself out. That vulnerability, it was real. And it wasn't about wanting her back. It was about wanting to be better. "I don't want you carrying guilt into this," I said quietly. "I'm not," he replied. "You sound like you are." Silence again. Then softer. "I just don't want you thinking I'd do that to you. That's what this was really about." "You won't," I said. "You don't know that." "I do." He was quiet. "Why?" he asked. "Because the guy who turned me down out of fear isn't the guy who held my hand in front of his father," I said. His breathing shifted. "You're not hiding anymore," I continued. "You're cleaning things up. That matters." There was a long pause. Then quietly, "I'm choosing you." No hesitation. No almost. Just truth. And that's when I realized something. The old feelings hadn't gone away. But they weren't fragile anymore. They'd grown up. "I'm choosing you too," I said softly. The exhale he let out sounded like relief. "Come over?" he asked. I smiled. "Yeah." Because love isn't just about the big public moments. It's about the quiet reassurance after. And when he showed up 20 minutes later, eyes tired but steady, I knew the roles had fully reversed. He wasn't running from this anymore. He was running toward it. And I was ready to meet him halfway. But one last test was coming. And it wasn't about his past. It was about mine. I should have known it wouldn't stay one-sided. Connor did the hard thing with his past. He cleaned it up. He faced it. And I supported him through it. But I'd been quietly avoiding something of my own. Came out on a Sunday afternoon. We were at my place, half watching some dumb cooking show while he stretched out on my floor, absently flexing his hand around a resistance band I'd given him. "You're distracted," he said, glancing up at me. "I'm not." "You are," he replied easily. "Your eyebrow does that thing." I rolled my eyes. "I don't have a thing." "You do." I tossed a pillow at him. He caught it one-handed. "Okay," he said, sitting up. "What's going on?" I hesitated, because this wasn't about exes. It was about something I hadn't told him yet. "My parents don't know," I said finally. He blinked. "About us." "About me." Silence. Connor's expression didn't change dramatically. It softened. "You've never told them?" he asked carefully. I shook my head. "They're traditional," I said with a small, ironic smile. "Church every Sunday. Family group chat full of Bible verses." He didn't joke, didn't brush it off. He just nodded slowly. "Is that why you didn't want to make a big deal at the gym?" he asked. "Partly, but it was more than that. I spent so long building myself back up after you," I admitted quietly. "Getting confident, getting comfortable." His jaw tightened slightly at that. "I don't want to feel small again. Are you scared they'll react like my dad?" "No," I said honestly. "I'm scared they won't react at all." That's what I hadn't admitted to myself. Rejection is loud. Disappointment is quiet. And quiet hurts longer. Connor stepped closer. "You don't owe them a performance," he said gently. "I know. But," I swallowed. "But I don't want to hide you." That landed between us. His eyes changed at that. "You're not hiding me," he said immediately. "Not intentionally," I replied. "But I haven't told them I'm seeing someone." He exhaled slowly. "When were you planning to?" "I don't know. Honesty feels heavy sometimes." He studied me for a long moment. "I don't need a public announcement," he said quietly. "I just need to know you're not ashamed of me." That stung. "Connor, I'm not accusing you," he added quickly. "I just need to know." I stepped forward this time. "I am not ashamed of you," I said firmly. "Then what are you afraid of?" The question was soft, but direct. "I'm afraid," I admitted, "that if they react badly, I'll have to choose." His brow furrowed. "Choose what? Peace or honesty?" He went still. "That's not a fair position for you to be in," he said. "It's reality," I replied. Silence filled the room. He reached for my hands then, held them. "Look at me," he said gently. I did. "If your parents react badly, that's on them. Not you. Not us." I nodded slightly. "But I don't want you shrinking yourself to keep anyone comfortable." His thumb brushed across my knuckles. "I fell for the version of you that stands tall. Don't bend for me. Don't bend for them." God, the roles really had reversed. A year ago, I was the one bending for him. Now he was the one reminding me not to. "I don't want to rush you," he continued. "But I don't want to feel like a secret either." "You're not," I said again. "Then let's not live like one." His voice wasn't demanding. It was steady. I took a slow breath. "Dinner next Sunday," I said. His eyebrows lifted slightly. "With my parents." He blinked. "Grayson, you don't have to." "I know," I cut in. "But I want to." The words surprised even me. He searched my face carefully. "You sure this isn't you trying to prove something?" "No," I said. "It's me choosing not to hide." Silence. Then slowly, a small smile spread across his face. "You're kind of incredible. You know that?" I laughed softly. "Don't get used to it." He stepped closer. This isn't about earning you anymore, he said quietly. It's not. No, he replied. It's about building with you. And something about that phrasing felt solid. Not dramatic. Not desperate. Whatever happens next Sunday, he said softly, we handle it together. Together. That word used to scare him. Now he said it easily. And I believed him. Next Sunday wouldn't be perfect. It wouldn't be cinematic. But it would be honest. And that mattered more than perfect ever did. Because sometimes the real reversal isn't who asked.